What's up, guys? Krashy asked me to react some of his gameplay. So we have Buzzwole right here. Obviously, one of the worst Pokemon. So let's see what he does with the Buzzwole. And also, I sadly can't have the volume on for in-game sounds because Krashy was actually listening to my stream in the background. So you can hear my music and you can hear me talk in the background. So we sadly have to mute it. But you know, Krashy's a big Chris Heroes watcher, so it's still quite funny. So yeah, let's see what he does with this Buzzwole. We have the X speed as well. And so what he does if he goes to jungle or laning phase and how he plays this. My favorite bit is the launch and superpower. So let's see what he does in this game as well. And it looks like we are invading, which, I mean, I think Buzzwole is probably one of the worst Pokemons for doing that because it has very bad PvE damage or, you know, player versus environment damage, since you can't build up your rage thingy or your muscle gauge against white Pokemon. And he's also leaving a Greninja alone on bot lane, but invading is very strong right now. So if you set the enemy jungler behind, you can get pretty far ahead. So it's going to take a blue buff away, and I assume then afterwards we just walk to bot lane. Don't even care. No, we actually fight the enemy jungler. I think I would have just instantly went back bot lane to help our Greninja get some of the last hits. Try not to waste too much time, because, you know, the indies are still up right here, and he's just going to go for it. I think it's totally fine right now to ignore the bot thing, and just going for these NDD, totally fine. And Greninja actually KOs someone as well. In the 1v2 scenario, that is the lane Greninjas you want in your games, right? How does that happen? I never have seen these people. I've never seen a Greninja getting something in landing phase before. Now he's actually level 5 as well, so it's actually worked out quite well. Krashy is well looking for level 5 now. Buzzwole is a Pokemon that really needs level 5 for that superpower or leech life, right? Otherwise, the Pokemon does quite bad. I think the biggest issue with this Pokemon is that the muscle gauge, again, just doesn't work against white Pokemon. I think they should do that. Obviously, it should be a much weaker version, but yeah. So now we have our superpower. Do we actually miss it? I think we missed it. It can be quite easy to miss. With a grab right here. Oh, this time we hit it. And now the enemy Buzzwole goes down. We can score 30 points. And now we can go back to invading, which I think, let's see what Krashy does. Yep, goes back to invading. He knows the blue buff has respawned. So paying good attention to the minimap and also to the timers, right? These buffs respawn every single minute. So if you KO it right now at 8:16, it respawns at 7:16. So you can just pay attention to that. Now looking for the Mr. Mime, he's actually taking the jungle. And we grab the red buff away too. So very nice early game for the Buzzwole right here. And we're going to kill this Mr. Mime as well. Getting that full muscle gauge, so superpower does more damage. And afterwards we can just speed away with the passive after getting a KO. Looking for a top gank now. I don't know if he has a tech bait or not, but make sure this instantly went for the 9 hits. But I mean, the 9 hits is still free KO as well. Buzzwole does feel like in these kind of scenarios, he does look very good, right? So if you play it like this, it sometimes feels very good, but then there come the parts where you're like, oh, I'm suddenly useless. Like his early game is very strong. And again, we have the lunge superpower build. Right here, we're jumping into 3. And this time our superpower didn't do damage because our muscle gauge was not built up. And suddenly we're dead. And now it's like, oh, wait, I'm just dead. I was like, you know, you're kind of riding a wave. And then suddenly you just start dying on this Pokemon. You're like, what even happened? I was destroying them so hard. And then you suddenly just don't do anything anymore. That's pretty much Buzzwole in a nutshell. It's now walking back to top lane for Regieleki, which I think is fine. I think what I don't like seeing is that 5 people are topside. So I would have maybe just went bot lane and just farmed a lot. But, you know, this Reggie is very important for team morale. And as well, if you can push it, and obviously it's low of points. So we're just going to start doing it. And again, we can't bet our muscle gauge either against these Pokemon. We can't even superpower it. So yeah, there's something they have to change for sure if they want to make Buzzwole a viable Pokemon, which I hope they do in the future. So Krashy just won't be wanting the Regieleki up here. Totally fine, but it could also be quite risky since we don't have any last hitting, right? So if the enemy Absol just walks in, we're kind of doomed. We're superpowering the Absol into your Ignite move, which I think is fine. If we KO the Absol right here, would be quite a lot of experience. But you can see it's quite squishy. Lunge back in, superpower the Absol. Nicely done. Still get that. And now the Rotom, the Regieleki went in as well. And Krashy can just walk in and probably score right here. There we go, we score. And now we can fight as well because the goal is down. They don't get healing anymore. But we are Buzzwole, so we just die. We just die anyways. We just die. And yeah, they're going to kill our goal now, which is fine. Was still a fine trade. They get a big, better overcap. But honestly, doesn't matter too much in the end. And now Krashy goes, you know, we have to just farm experience. We have to farm our next Unite move back up. And now it's the point in the game where Buzzwole is going to start feeling quite bad. Like, the biggest power spike is that level 5 power spike. Because he actually does a crazy amount of damage for a level 5 move on superpower on a maximum muscle gauge. So after that timing is gone, you know, you will start fading away slowly and you will get outpowered by your opponents. So let's see what we do. If we can somehow manage for that not to happen. We have still a big power spike coming up as well, which is level 11 right here. It's superpower plus. When our muscle gauge fills up, the cooldown of superpower resets. So we can kind of superpower someone, auto attack a lot, reset it with a muscle gauge. And we score up here, which I think is totally fine. We could be defending the bottom tier 1 goal, but I think that is also fine. Also, I see a float stone. I like it. I'm seeing the float stone. Very happy about that. I think it's a very good item now. Razor Claw 2 on this Pokemon, also very good in this build. Because our lunge is very low cooldown and we use it quite a lot. I'm going to start taking a red buff away. If no one else takes it, you should take it in solo queue, especially if you play damage dealer. And now we're going to be ready up for the next Reggie fight. Our team is still pretty far away, so I would be careful right here. Like, if the Slowbro has Unite move up, which we don't, we could already be dead, right? So, gotta be a bit careful. We go in with our Unite move, and then we just kind of die. We miss our superpower, and that's, I think it's just very difficult to land at some team fights. If you miss one superpower, you pretty much die. And there we go. I do think we went in a bit too early. I would have waited for a team a bit longer. Just a tiny bit, they were almost there. And then maybe team fight together, but just looking for something, maybe kill the Ninetales. Didn't quite work out. And now we're back as well, looking for another superpower. Oh, this one was nicely done. We threw the enemy Buzzwole onto Slowbro and are able to KO him as well, and the Buzzwole too. So that was pretty good. Re-engage. These fights on this map can last pretty long. That's why the Floatstone got us through this fight much faster, right? If we didn't have Floatstone, it would have taken much longer for us to go back into this fight. Our Mr. Unite moves, and he actually steals it away. Yeah, that's quite unfortunate. Again, we can't really secure it as well. If we don't have full heal, we also can't, you know, not get stunned by the Mr. Mime Unite. So, can be quite difficult. And now we kind of just need farm at least level 13 for our next Lunge Plus. Just so we have, you know, our power spikes. Charizard doing a Reggie steal on bot lane, which is quite nice. Some bonus experience. Good farming here as well, you know, throwing. If you throw someone on top of something else with superpower, they take damage from it. Here we sadly missed it. And I think at this point we actually can even farm level 14. Right, there's a lot of Audinos up, Indeed's up. I still kind of want to say Audino. Krashy BMing the Mr. Mime a bit, which I think is fair. Anyone who picks Mr. Mime right now should be BM'd. This Pokemon is just ruining the fun right now, I have to say. Mr. Mime is kind of ruining the fun of the game. So yeah, but now we can look for level 14. We can maybe look for a cap on bot side, which is quite risky still. Or we can maybe fight this Absol. Right now in 1v1s, this Pokemon can be still quite good as well. As long as we have 1v1s. The problem is that as soon as it's like a 3v3 or something, it can be quite difficult. But yeah, here we just run over. We have our passive up now from the takedown too. So nicely done. Some nice KOs. And now we pretty much guaranteed level 14 for this last team fight over the last 2 minutes. I think with Buzzwole, you probably should maybe look for a back cap on top of bottom goal, because team fights are going to be way too hard anyways, and then you look for a flank. The thing with Buzzwole is we don't want to be the first one to engage into a team fight. If the enemies just use one Unite move on you, you're pretty much out of the team fight, right? So you want to be the one that engages and you want your team first to soak some Unite moves and then be the one that either finishes someone off, right? Or not. So we got to 14, pretty nice. We're actually looking for top side now, spots the Absol, and spots the Ninetales as well. Gotta walk back now. Gotta be careful though as well. Jumps on the Absol. And we missed the superpower. Also, the superpower would have not done a lot of damage because we didn't have any muscle gauge. So that engage wasn't very I think even if we hit the superpower, we probably die there. So the Ninetales have to be watched out for. Just an overveil and the teammates are saved, and now the teammates are fighting alone. So I mean as well, like we kind of have to let our teammates soak some damage first with the Buzzwole before we can go in. But the team actually just cleans up. The team just actually cleans up the enemy team. So well played by Krashy's team over here. Krashy did have a very good early game, which set his team ahead as well by stealing a buff away, winning bot lane very hard. That also set his lane partner very far ahead, the Greninja. So, but yeah, that's just Buzzwole. Like it's very difficult at some point. It is very difficult. They surrender. And it was an okay game. It's just, you notice, like I was even saying it, there comes the point where Buzzwole just can't do anything anymore. And that's exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened. You can look at some damage numbers as well. We skip forward a bit. Let's see how much damage Krashy did. We have 5-7, 60k damage. That's totally respectable for this Pokemon as well. Still out damaging the enemy Buzzwole, you know, that's all that matters. I hope you guys enjoyed this video.